we're just going to keep it casual, and it's great to see so many familiar faces. Well, since we're at about 5 minutes past the hour, I'm going to go ahead and get started, mostly because I just don't, I want to make use of the best use of your time. I'm just so grateful that you all clicked on the Zoom link and decided to join us virtually for a little fireside chat with myself and others. I really just am excited about an opportunity to share some time with you this evening. I know like many of you, are missing the solidarity of coming together and being with our people. And by golly, Zoom is not the same. And so we're all kind of lamenting, but in order to be able to have a little bit of time to connect with you all, this was an option that we just wanted to try out and see how it would play out. And this feels perfect. So the best we can do for now, but I miss you all, and it's just really wonderful to see your friendly faces. Without people like you, this work wouldn't be nearly as important to me. It's a lot about the relationships that we have with each and every one of you, and you're all really incredibly special. And so a huge prop to Jamie for pulling this all together. She is, as we know, the master of communications, all things communications at the Land Trust. And so one of the ways that we're really turning our attention to staying in touch is really empowering Jamie to find new and creative ways to keep us engaged with our special people. And it's been a year. We've not been able to, much like any other nonprofit in our community, we haven't been able to offer events just in the mindfulness of keeping our people safe and a focus on community and maintaining that standard of we all got to do our part. So unfortunately, we weren't able to have as many wonderful events out at especially Idler's Rest this year. We've been gaining some incredible momentum with being able to do some activities and events out on our conserved properties, but this just wasn't the year for us. And we appreciate and feel the support no matter what the tide has thrown at us this way. I'm gonna just give a little bit of some highlights about what has been really the most meaningful for me this last year. And I'm gonna keep my sort of packaged talking points pretty succinct and give you all an opportunity to say a few words and chime in as you feel so compelled. So please know that this is intended to be a conversation. It's not intended to be a one-way delivery whatsoever. And so if something piques your interest and you might want to know a little bit more about it or want to peel back the layers a little bit, feel free to either unmute your mic and offer your comments, because we're a pretty small group right now. I think that's totally doable. If you feel more comfortable, you can certainly type your comments or questions into the chat. And the wonderful Jamie is proctoring and managing questions or comments as they might come through there. So, so feel free to just leave your little chat box open, or you can keep it closed and just see the screens, whatever you're the most comfortable with. I think the thing that is what I wanted to start out with is just really feeling this season coming upon us where we're changing into the fall weather. I don't know how it got to be the middle of November. I feel like my life has been in warp speed. And here we're entering just this season of gratitude. And so normally this time of year, we're able to come together, usually about the second week of November, and have an opportunity to gather at a wonderful community space and invite all of those who care so much about these lands we love and the work and mission of the Palouse Land Trust to come together. And so during that conservation celebration, we typically are really just having an opportunity to connect, an opportunity to say thank you, and an opportunity to give you a little bit of insights into what's in store at the Land Trust. And so I think what has been the most inspiring to me throughout this past year has been just this whole sense of now more than ever, we're seeing this huge uptick in how people are accessing wild spaces close to home. I don't know about you, but nature has brought me such great solace and respite from the challenges that are affecting all of us. And how lucky are we that we have these wonderful public spaces, lands that are protected in the name of conservation, and places like Idler's Rest Nature Preserve, where we can go to connect. And when we're there, it's kind of that quiet tempo of the forest that sort of comes over us. Maybe you've been able to walk the trails out at Rabbit Hills Nature Preserve, which is part of the PCEI's Nature Center campus. Many of you know that public treasure is in the right in the city limits of Moscow, and exists today because of a wonderful community-minded landowner, Gail DeSantis, who saw the writing on the wall when developers were buying up the land all around her home. And she really boldly stepped up to protect that open space and eventually gifted it to a community organization. And I live near the water tower in Moscow, and my daughter and I spent quite a bit of time meeting up at the trails at PCI. I had a chance to go for a socially distanced walk with Libby out there, and a few others, just in addition to Idler's Rest. That's one of the wonderful community public spaces that we're protecting through the Land Trust. And I've probably bumped into a few of you while out adventuring. I know I see Joellen walking all over the place, all over town. She's often I'll look out the window, there goes Joellen. And it's really fun to know that nature can really connect us in the way that brings us joy and light to our days that are sometimes cast in a little bit of a shadow. And I wanted to just take a moment to pause and ask if any of you would be willing to just share an experience or an anecdote or a point of pride about one of your favorite experiences connecting with nature over the past few months, whether it's at Idler's Rest or somewhere else. And if you would just unmute and just maybe share a little bit, I would really appreciate it. Libby, can I call you out and ask you to share? I have a feeling that you and Callie have done a little bit of connecting with nature, and I'd love for you to just tell me what that means to you. But you're on mute, so you have to unmute yourself.
Yes.
There you are. Thank you for letting me call on you.
Yeah, no. I have a German short-haired pointer who's still very, very energetic and active. And every day we go for a 4-mile hike, and we're near Paradise Creek in the South Fork of the Palouse River on trails that Scotty Cornelius has established. And he's one of the generous donors to the Land Trust. So we see ducks and herons and squirrels and rabbits, and it's really a very important part of my day. And so Lovina and everybody at the Land Trust knows not to try to contact me before 10 o'clock, because it takes about an hour and a half for us to do that, especially if I stop and visit with people on my way back. So it's just like eating breakfast. It's just something that I do every day, is take Callie out for a great big run in an undeveloped area.
That's awesome. Does anybody feel brave enough? Anybody else feel brave enough to share? I know it's not easy over this format, but it's a easy company. Jamie, I'll put you on deck if you want to.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'll hop. Oh wait, Michael wants to say something.
Well, I thought
Hi,
I would.
Mike.
Hey, how are you, Lovina?
I'm great. Nice to see
Jocelyn,
you.
good to see you guys. Jamie, nice to see you. Yeah. I don't know. I just thought I'd, for the sake of it, toss a few things out about connecting with nature. And so there's a few, really. One of them Well, there's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, more than a few, but I'll keep it short. One was this summer, seeing a peregrine falcon go over town. And it reminded me how they've come back. You know, they were almost destroyed by DDT and eggshell thinning, just like our bald eagles. And they're back, and they're, you know, a lot more common. And that was a wonderful connection for me as I think back over time to when they were severely depredated. And they're still somewhat affected. The coastal population is still affected by DDT because they follow the ducks, and they follow the ducks down to Venezuela and South America where they winter. And there's still a lot of DDT there, and the ducks bring it back. But nonetheless, they're doing better. And in a similar way, although not over the same sort of issue, but I saw a magnificent Cooper's hawk over town about maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. But it was just as clear as day, and it was so magnificent. You know, it's the larger of the two. The sharp-shinned and the Coopers are closely related, and it's the larger of those two. So it was a good size raptor, and that was also really pretty spectacular connection with nature and thinking about these birds and who have massive ranges, and it's just that's a wonderful connection about our place and the habitat that they use in our local region, local area, but how they wander so far. And that's one thing about the birds and having these islands of places that aren't going to be paved over, you know, where the birds can still hop from island to island. And that's a lot of what the land trust is about. It's a big deal. So
Thanks, Nick. That was great.
thank you.
Yeah. And Tony or Keith, I would love to hear from. Go ahead, Keith.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Rhonda and I had a real neat experience this year, even though we were staying home an awful lot. We had two red-tailed hawks build a nest in the top of the maple tree in our backyard, and built the nest and raised their young there. And so we got to observe the evolution of that from beginning to end, and it was great observing them until the little ones hatched, and then the two hawks became very territorial and would dive at us as a potential threat in our backyard. And so we'd have to go outside with an umbrella or whatever to try to protect ourselves from these diving hawks. And when the little ones finally left the nest, they were down sitting on our windowsill trying to figure out the world and looking around. And it only took a few days, and of course they were off and flying. But it was really a fun experience.
That's awesome. Thanks so much.
Well, I'll share before, I'm sure Jamie will in a minute. As Lovina suggested, she's seen me walking around near the PLT offices more. And we made quite a major move. Now it's 11 months ago, so almost a year ago, when we sold our house that I always considered in suburbia, even though it was in Moscow, up near D Street and Mountain View. We sold that, and we have moved to downtown Moscow in a condo down on A Street in Alman. And so my adventures we've still gone out to Idler's Rest and Kamiak Butte and Phillips Farm and a few of those places. Certainly it's a mixed blessing that the pandemic has brought a lot more use of these areas, which given you're supposed to be staying away from people, and most of us I know in this group probably like to be in nature without a crowd and like to have some solitude, and that's gotten a lot harder in many ways. But I'm also glad that a lot of people are experiencing nature in our local areas that probably never have, and maybe that will increase appreciation and donations and things to the Land Trust and PCEI and some of the other groups around here. So it's a mixed bag. I heard the Forest Service chief speak at a webinar last week, and she said that this summer, the word in the national forests all across the country was that every day is like a weekend. And every weekend this summer was like the 4th of July in terms of the demands on the resources, in terms of the impact on the trails. A lot of people who'd never been there, building fires and campfires, and certainly not doing leave no trace hiking and things. So there's been pros and cons. Back to my story of moving to downtown, I've been quite surprised at a lot of walks and trails, the Paradise Trail, the little creeks, Berman Creekside Park, and the trail actually from ours to our house to there. There's a lot of things going on in Moscow that I don't think a lot of people really use very much. Those haven't been particularly crowded during the pandemic. We have a little tiny strip of a creek that PCEI has exposed here. I mean, taken care of here, right here off of Asbury Street. And we had a pair of mallard ducks swimming in it this spring. I don't think they nested there, but we saw them there several times. And like Michael mentioned, hawks. We're right in the middle of Moscow, but we've seen a fair number of hawks flying over, and enjoyed the colors of the trees till the snow came and made all the pretty trees lose their leaves in about overnight. But anyway, I'm glad to see that PCLI is doing well in Moscow, and hope you continue to.
Thanks, Joellen.
I just want to throw in, Joellen, there are many other things in your little stream. It's my daily, or was my daily walking route to visit my leeches. There are several of them in your little creek. They're very beautiful. If you can use that word to describe leeches, they're yellow-orange, very special. I went and said hi to them almost daily. There's some fish in there as well. So that little creek gave me a lot of respite this year as well. So I just wanted to throw that in to look for those weird noodle things that you see in your stream out your window.
I chuckle because I always was harassing Jamie about her ability to find the beauty in every part of nature. And she does love to geek out on those little leeches. And I took a look at them and I was like, okay, they're creepy, I'm out, but awesome. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping in like that, and that's really heartfelt. And I think one of the things that really resonates about what you all presented is that it doesn't take too much to just find the beauty in the things that are right at our back doors, whether you live in a condo in town or whether you're on acreage out in the countryside and have some open space around you where maybe the public spaces aren't as much a part of a keystone way that you are accessing nature. But regardless, we've seen kind of like what Jocelyn said, this idea of 4th of July every weekend kind of thing. I think, we've been seeing a lot of access and use out at Idler's Rest. And we think now more than ever, people are really seeing the value in having that space. I ran into so many people every time I was out there that just greeted me with a smile. It's really hard to be mad when you're out in nature, or really hard to feel bummed. And I just feel really grateful that the Land Trust is able to be the steward of that wonderful space. And so it's just one of those great things. And I think sorry, Jocelyn, pointing out that Joellen said that. I don't know why Joellen and Jocelyn just sort of seem in my mind tonight to just blend together. So how it goes. Apologies about giving you names. I think one of the things that when I'm out at Idler's Rest and other places, and I do a lot of outdoor activities myself as well, and it's where I typically take my vacations even, is I recognize, now more than ever, that I don't ever want to take for granted the privileges that are bestowed on me. And not everyone has the same opportunity to access nature as I do, or that some of us do, and to really feel safe and at ease when we're doing so. And I think that's part of what makes this such a special place to live. And what we're really focusing on here at the Land Trust is finding creative ways to make certain that the lands that we conserve for the public benefit, that we're really trying to focus on how we can offer equitable access to all. And that's where we're putting a big focus of our energy right now. And I know many of you have been kind of watching this evolution of Idler's Rest over the last year or so, with all the work that we're doing out there. And if you haven't been lately, the thing that we're very excited about is that earlier this summer, we were able to finish the next phase of construction of the new Universal Access Trail. It's going to be really wonderful when it's done. And we've found some hitches along the way that sort of put little pauses in our progress. But right now we have a trail in place that goes from the parking lot all the way down to the creek in the Cedar Grove. And that was a big triumph for us, because we had been dreaming of this for many years. And thanks to all of your wonderful support as a community organization, you empowered us to be able to activate on that. So we now have we just opened up our new parking area that has a handicap accessible parking space right next to where we put in the vault toilet last August. And in doing so, we now have a place where people who might have limited mobility are able to access just the grandeur of that Cedar Grove and the respite of that beautiful quiet creek as it babbles through there. That is really one of those gems of the community that we kind of all anchor in when we think about Idler's Rest. We think about this beautiful place on the mountain. And there's a lot of access projects that are happening within our communities, but to be able to have one that's out in a natural area feels like a real accomplishment for us. And we couldn't have done what we've done to date without your incredible support. We had plans to get it open before the snow flew, which was like, oh yeah, that's not going to be a problem. That'll happen. And here we are with a few inches of snow on the ground, and things are pretty frozen. And darn it if we don't have that new bridge across the trail in yet. But we're feeling really optimistic about the progress that we've made. And we're super excited that we think that in the spring of 2021, we'll be able to have a celebration with our community, of course, socially distanced, and because we don't know where we'll be, but we'd love to make sure to invite each of you that maybe want to share in the joy of the accomplishment of getting that space more equitably accessible. Invite you to join us for that. So stay tuned. We're having some progress that is just getting us really excited about getting to the finish line.
And Lovina, I just want to say that while it's not officially done, it is open. You are more than welcome to use that new trail down into the Cedar Grove from the road. Per the wisdom of our wonderful excavation company, Dan, who is our lead guy that makes it all happen, said, hey, if people walk on it while it's wet, that makes my job easier by compacting it over the winter. So if you are so inclined, go ahead and use that new one. Just know that the brand new, shiny, wonderful bridge, you'll just have to imagine it at this point. But the old, perfectly fine, rickety bridge is still there for you to enjoy as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we're open for business, and we have remained in business for this whole duration of the many changes that have been happening in our community. But we're making great progress out there, and invite any of you at any time to go check it out. Let's see. I wanted to just kind of ride that wave of excitement, and we also have been making some strides to really lay the roadmap for the next year and years to come. And so again, because we have such a wonderful invested and involved community of supporters, we've been able to create a new conservation plan, a strategic plan that was adopted by our board this June. And we're pretty proud of the way that it all came together, because I think that it really speaks to this movement to be able to embody community and really get more people accessing nature and becoming the future leaders that we need to be able to vote for things and use their voice to be able to champion these local landscapes. We're really laying some important groundwork for how we're going to achieve that vision. Like Jamie probably gets tired of hearing me say this, but it's really that one document that we really we revisit. Doesn't sit on a shelf. We're using it in our daily work, and it really was led by community and by our wonderful board of directors. And I think Jamie shared in the chat a link to where you can just take a glance at our new strategic plan that we're really proud of. But again, we're really focusing on the three main areas of our work that have to do with what you all, I think, know about the land trust. And there is some exciting things in there. Like, for example, we are really focusing, and another one of our board members looks like he's joining us. And one of the things that is really exciting about the work that we're doing is we're really trying to listen to what our community is saying about this need for more access for recreation in our community and diversifying ways in which that is happening. And so the Land Trust is really trying to prioritize projects that when a landowner comes to us and says, I would love for my land to be accessible and available for public access, it's one of those things that we're really able to activate on. And it's largely to do with us having a really diverse board that represents a lot of different voices from the community and is really advocating for leading in the direction that they want to see the organization go. And so one of our other board members, Colin Priebe, who just joined us, has been one of our instrumental drivers in that voice on the board. And also, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if either Anthony or if Tony or Keith were interested in just saying a couple of words, I'd invite either of you to share your story with those of our wonderful people on the call, because it will mean a lot more coming from you than it will.
This is Keith. What would you like me to share, Lovina?
Well, Keith, I think that if you wouldn't mind just sharing just a couple of just highlights of your family's property, and that if it's okay, if I have your permission to share with this group that we're working with you and Rhonda.
Sure, sure, yeah. In a nutshell, my grandfather and grandmother homesteaded the farm that I grew up on, just west of Deary, and we've had several generations of our family live there. And our hope, our plan, is to preserve that farm on an ongoing basis as a nature park. And with Palouse Land Trust's assistance, we hope to be doing that.
Thank you, Keith. That's beautiful. That's perfect. Yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spot.
Right.
But it's wonderful landowners like Keith that have this vision for the future of their property. And what the Land Trust does is fulfills a role that no other organization does. And as a local conservation organization, we're able to help his family effectively make strides towards reaching their vision. And we can't do this without all of you. And so this is a wonderful way for you to hear from somebody who we're working with directly. So I do appreciate, Keith, that you were willing to chime in on that. And Tony, I don't want to put you on the spot. I see you're hiding over there, muted and video off. So I won't I won't put you on the spot, but I will just mention that that Tony is one of our landowners who has a large family property up on Comer Beach and is interested in protecting that space up there. He says, I am hiding, so I won't challenge him to come out of hiding. But we've been having conversations with Tony for a long time, but a big part of it is just, trying to effectuate these kind of icons in our community that we all see from our respective homes or places of work that really give us a sense of identity. And it's the magic of being able to work with people like Tony and Keith that really ground me in the work that we're doing here at the Land Trust. And so I just wanted to make mention of a couple of those projects. We also, Colin wears a couple of different hats, and he also serves as one of the leaders of the local mountain bike association that we refer to as Mamba. And Mamba is working with one of our protected property landowners, extending the Mamba Trail system and providing yet more continued access for outdoor recreation and enjoyment, to just really give people that grounding rod that they need to be able to just have that love of community that means so much to them. So so those are just a few of the highlights of things that we're working on in the background. Another important part of what I think was a huge success for us this year is that many of you know that in June, we were able to expand our team, and we hired Carl Meyer, our new conservation projects manager. After Nick left our organization to take a position in Seattle. Yay, Christmas. And we had a bit of a vacancy for a while. We were trying to just get our wheels underneath us to make sure that we were making sound financial judgments. So we pumped the brakes a little bit. But again, we just have had a lot of steady support from our people like you who just rose to the occasion. We set forth on a new fundraising campaign this year that allowed us to activate our intention to hire Carl and bring him on full time. So he joined us full time in June. And I know many of you might think that was pretty optimistic in the wake of a pandemic to hire a new and full-time staff and grow our team here. But really, it's been so instrumental in giving us the capacity and needed bandwidth to move forward on our backlog of important conservation projects, working with the many landowners who have a vision for protecting their land. And so it's been really inspiring to bring Carl onto the team. He absolutely has been just instrumental in fitting right in with the culture of our staff and board, and has just rolled his sleeves up and gotten to work. And we're really grateful for him being on the team. And it's really going to move us forward with some of our big picture vision for our strategic plan over the next few years. Before I leave that topic, I'll invite any of my board members, Libby or Jocelyn or Colin, if you have any interest of saying any words at all about the strategic plan from the board's perspective. I'd be grateful for that. And I'll jump at once. Colin, you're ready to go there. Okay, all right, you got it.
I had a unique perspective getting to work on this, just from the basis of pretty much right when I started with the board, we started discussing creating a group to discuss this and figure out a new strategic plan, a stable, growing strategic plan, something we could work with for years to come. And it has been a very enlightening getting to work through this whole process, especially from some of the board members who have been in longer than I, and just coming in with completely, shall we say, blank perspective on it all. And it has been really cool to get to work through this process and be involved in guiding the organization and just figuring out what I want out of something like this. And it's been really, really pleasant.
Awesome. Thanks, Colin. Libby or Jocelyn, do you guys want to add anything, or are you feeling like I've hit the highlights? Libby, you're on mute. If you're trying to talk to us, we can't hear you. Oh, you're still on mute. You came off and then you went back on. There you go. There you go.
Well, Claire Coyne said something here in the chat room, very inspiring, must up donations. And I just want to say that our donors have been incredibly generous in the last year or so. And that's one of the reasons we were able to hire Carl, is because, you know, we reached out, we had a strong message. We really need this person on board. Lovina can't be 3 people at the same time, so we need somebody to fill that position. And as the head of the development committee, I just wanted to say how grateful I am that when we send out an appeal or when I make phone calls to people, that most often I get a positive response. And that's so heartwarming for me to know that not only am I committed to this organization, but so many people out there are committed and are willing to step up if asked to, can you do a little bit more? And I just didn't know if that's universally known across the organization, across all of the donors, that people are increasing their donations now. And even in a pandemic, you know, and I don't know if it's because it's human nature that when you feel frustrated and helpless, that maybe you increase a donation to a nonprofit as a way to make a difference. But it seems like that's what's happening. The donations are up, and I'm very heartened to see that and very grateful.
Thank you, Libby.
I'll just pipe in and say thanks to Colin for all his work on the strategic plan, and thanks to Libby for all that she's done and trying to help us raise funds and so on. And she's right, everybody's been very generous this year, and it's been just wonderful. And then of course Lovina and Jamie have been great, and Carl, like you say, he's a great new addition to the team and so on. And now he's a new dad too. So he's got a lot of firsts this year.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Thank you all so much. And, that's a perfect segue into just the gratitude and props that I want to give to our wonderful board. If you haven't had a chance to visit our website where we have our board member bios, we've got a 13-member board of directors right now that is just incredible. And these people lead with passion and fervor and are just incredibly dedicated and supportive of the work of this organization and the mission, and they're really driving it home. And they're an inspiration to work with. And so, just a huge kudos to these volunteers who do an incredible amount to add to the successes of our community and the lens of local conservation. So, huge kudos. And for those of you that don't know, many of you might have gotten our newsletter here recently, and we're in our 25th year as an organization, which is just exciting in its own. But there's been a lot of people along the way who have contributed in big ways. And we are seeing some of our more seasoned and longtime board members decide to retire and do other things with their time. But all of you should know that we are in the process of recruiting several new board members. And this past year, we've had 4 new members join our board. And it's really been empowering to have their enthusiasm and knowledge and skills adding to the collective good. And really, again, I think the future is bright, and it's a lot to do with on the shoulders of many. So, if you have an opportunity, go check out and see if you know any of those folks, and feel free to ask them questions and talk a little bit more offline about where we're headed. And I think I'm gonna just, with that, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up and make it a little bit more of a free flow open session. I just can't thank you all enough for your unwavering support, especially during uncertain times. And it's been a great year, and I love this job so much, and I cherish each one of you and the relationships that we have. And having an opportunity to connect like this isn't the same as being together, but gosh, it's just the best we can do for right now. So happy that you took all of you took some time out of your evening. And I think I'll just open it up if there's any general comments or questions or things that you might want to dive a little bit deeper into. I'm all yours. And again, if you're not comfortable speaking up, feel free to drop a message in the chat. Jamie's monitoring that, and will let me know if there's something that comes up.
This is Claire, and I just want to say I think we need to get a cannon, and so when you complete easement, that the cannon should be fired.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll just have to give all of the pet owners a fair warning, right? It's sort of like the noon bell, that used to ring in the city.
Oh, we're used to it in Pullman with the home football games.
Oh, I bet you are. My goodness. Yeah. Yep. Well, thank you for saying so. Well, those of you hiding out there behind your hidden cameras and mics, I want you to also feel the love coming from this direction. So I recognize not everybody is comfortable talking in this kind of a format, and thank you all so much for participating and for your time. And unless there's any other questions that came up, Jamie, we could probably let people escape after their time with us this evening.
Nothing in the chat, but
Yeah.
That's okay. Just wonderful accolades. And we're, again, so grateful to have everybody here. And this will, if you want to rewatch it, it will be available online probably tomorrow. But for all of our folks who had emailed and let us know they couldn't be here, we will have this recording available. If you are so impassioned you would like to share it with all of your friends, it will be available on our YouTube channel. Yes, we have a YouTube channel. Go ahead and check it out. The things that are on it, you might find something fun, but this will be available probably tomorrow afternoon at the latest.
Thank you all so much for being with us, and be well and take good care. Good night.
Good night.